Hola, cage fighting connoisseurs. You've got Kid Nate of Bloody Elbow, joined by Eugene S. Robinson, author of Fight, everything you always wanted to know about ass kicking, but we're afraid you get your ass kicked for asking.
And it didn't even seem like you were reading it off a card that
Nope.
time. Oh, that's
pure knowledge.
Steel
Eugene.
trap. It's a steel
dropping
trap.
science. Just dropping science right here. All right.
Science and knowledge.
So this week we're going to be looking ahead to UFC 156. It's got 4 big fights on the card. We're going to talk about the eschatological implications of every one of them.
Nice.
The whole bit. But first I got to talk about Rampage Jackson, who lost not terribly, but he lost pretty badly against Glover Teixeira at UFC on Fox 6. And then after the fight, he announced his intention to be like Gary Goodridge, which is well and good. Gary was something of a mentor to Rampage in his younger days when he was in the Pride organization. Right. The bad part is Gary Goodridge has dementia from taking too many shots to the head. What the fuck? Does Rampage know this?
All right. Okay. First of all, I had Goodridge on Knuckle Up maybe about a year ago. The guy was lucid. He was able to track. He was what we would consider the Gary Goodridge of old. I think he, what is it called? Encephalopathy.
CTE.
Yeah, cranial something, encephalopathy. I think the idea that he might have it, I mean, we talked about him not being cleared to fight because of health issues, and he, poo-pooed it. I mean, I guess he's messed up, but the guy's not selling pencils on a street corner, In any case, that's not the spirit in which he meant it. since it seems like he's doing his level best to actually create a situation where he doesn't fight it anymore at all. And given that Dana White put him on Front Street with the whole $15.8 million or $15.2 million, or however much money he's made in the last 4 years.
It was over $15 million, yeah.
Yeah, it seems that the need for him to get up and stand up and come into a cage with some sort of, he is very far from, if it's 15.2, he's very far from being Gary Goodridge, on that count. I guess he was talking about Dan Severn, Gary Goodridge, just going off into the horizon, the lonely fighter. I don't know what he was talking about. I don't know why he was playing a video game in the interview. I don't, my big fear, I thought the fight was lackluster for both of them, but my big fear was that he would do some like loneliness of the long distance runner maneuver, which involved him, a guy who so wants out of his contract that he would get into the cage and just stand there, hands at his sides, refusing to engage, maybe moving his head every now and then so the claim could be made that he intelligently defended himself. Why? Because the guy has got employment beef. People who have employment beefs shoot up the workplace. Aldrich Ames had an employment beef. He's in prison for life. You don't know what a guy will do when he's got employment beef. And I hate to say it, but I think Dana White's been diplomatic, graceful, and masterful in his employment beef, which I think, if anything, should make Rampage feel great that the guy's actually been, well, screw you, go ahead, beat it. He's not been that way. He's like, let's talk to Rampage, we'll work it out. I think we can come to an agreement. He's been really uncharacteristically gracious. Maybe Rampage is going through some personal stuff that the rest of us don't know about. I don't know.
Here's my theory on this. Remember when Rampage had his Monster energy drink freak out and wrecked his monster truck and the whole bit?
Uh-huh.
Dana had to come bail him out. Juanito Ibarra just ditched Rampage totally at that point, or maybe they had already fallen out, but it was very fresh when that was out. And Dana had to go out there and bail him out. And I think when you do somebody a favor like that, when you really come through for somebody, you backfill that you like them a lot. Because you got to ask yourself, why am I doing all this shit for this fool? And then your answer is, oh yeah, it's Rampage. I love him. I really care about him. And so I think he's still got that vibe where he doesn't view Rampage as like a Josh Barnett or somebody that's or a Randy Couture, somebody that's bites the hand that feeds. He views Rampage as more of a wayward prodigal son.
Right.
And he's always welcome back at the father's table kind of deal. That's how I think about Rampage. And there's something about Rampage. For all his asinine behavior, he's a lovable guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. there's just something about Rampage. He's funny. He seems sweethearted, no matter if he's motorboating Karen Bryant or molesting innocent Japanese television personalities. Whatever he's doing, you just feel like it's just unrestrained id. You don't feel like there's some kind of conniving bullshit going on.
Yeah, it doesn't feel mean. It doesn't feel mean-spirited. So
Oh no, definitely not. Definitely.
And I would say he's still I don't want to say performing up to par, because that would imply that at least he's winning some of these fights. But he's not been taking easy fights. It's not like he's been taking tough fights and he's been losing them, but he's been coming through them. I mean, his loss to Jon Jones, it was game. I mean, he was not, and there was no point at which I felt sorry for him as I did with Chuck Liddell at the end, or as sorry as I sort of felt for Gary Goodrich, who was like, well, I'm just trying to find some place that let me fight so I can eat. That's not cool. But I mean, there's like I've told you this story before about the guy when I was living in East Palo Alto, the guy who was mowing my lawn, or who came by with a lawnmower, offered to mow my lawn for $20, and then during the course of the conversation, because I naturally said yes, because I want to mow the lawn, the guy tells me that he used to play for the Golden State Warriors. Well, when? Well, 76. Yeah, happens that these guys, discontinuities in time. You're in a place where, next thing you know, there's a neon Deion Sanders, and he's driving a Rolls Royce, and you're not. So, I mean, the Gary Goodrich story could be kind of sad, but, you take a lot of shots. There are a lot of guys. What about Chemo? How's Chemo doing?
Yep. Well, he's not dead, at least.
He's not dead, but I remember, I mean, he was the reason they got rid of headbutts.
Indeed.
So,
and he's failed many a steroid test.
Has he?
Oh, yeah. He's failed at least 2.
Well, if one is not enough, then 1,000 is not too many, my friends. I mean, the whole Rampage thing, I can't quite figure out what's going on there, but I think at the very least what's happened is that you've got this weird thing with that division, and it's like there's not going to be. I was thinking about this for Knuckle Up. I mean, there's not. Where are you going to go? Where is their flex room? I mean, there's this terrible calcifying effect that you have when you get an Anderson Silva or Jon Jones. It really, the deck chair on the Titanic thing really seems to be pretty apt. I mean, so Rampage ultimately, I think, has maybe internalized that. It's like, what the hell? I'm going to beat my head out for what? I'm already blowing my shot.
Well, I'm interested in you saying that you thought that the Glover Teixeira Rampage Jackson fight was underwhelming for both guys. I was actually fairly impressed with Teixeira. I mean, Rampage seems definitely slowed, and he was ducking and covering where he used to duck and cover and then fire back. He was just duck and covering for the first 2 rounds. Yeah. But Teixeira was mixing up his attack. He was, he'd been kind of a one-punch pony his only UFC fights, and he really mixed up his attack, and I was kind of impressed with the guy. He had to keep going after Rampage refused to go down. Sometimes that can freak out a lot of guys.
Yep.
He didn't get himself into a Yushin Okami Tim Boach situation where he's beating the guy's ass and then gets knocked out in the 3rd round. So,
right.
I mean, Teixeira is one of these guys I feel kind of bad for since the visa issues basically fucked him out of his opportunity. I mean, he's 33 now.
Yeah.
And he could have been coming to the UFC at 27, 28 before Jon Jones. And now he's in the Jon Jones era. Although, Jones is talking about moving up to heavyweight at the end of the year, so it could be a whole new division, very short order.
He's talking about that because he's got nothing to occupy his mind. I mean, when you look at the great expanse of your future, we all have little things that might keep us going in any given day. Like, oh my God, they haven't killed the Twinkie. I can get some Twinkies, or in my case, Little Debbie's, the little circular snack cakes, the cinnamon pecan rolls. I mean, you have things you live for. That so Jon Jones, where am I going to go? I mean, I guess he would have to at some point deal with Teixeira, but I think
Gustafsson and Musasi. I mean, there's some faces on the horizon.
Musasi, Gustafsson, I'm not seeing Musasi and Teixeira, but those guys have to. I mean, I think if you're going to be smart about the development, you put together Teixeira and Musasi, and then the winner of that fights Jones. I think.
Well, Musasi's going to fight Gustafsson actually.
Oh, yeah. Well, that'll be a short fight for him.
It could well be.
I'm sorry to be that Augusta, but it's just I don't.
That's a pride of Sweden you're talking about, Eugene.
Yeah. You know, Sweden has the highest incidence of rape in all of Europe.
Really? I did not know that.
Per 100,000 women, 98 women per 100,000 will get raped in Sweden.
Yikes!
It's you know, you think this peaceful Ingmar Bergman place. Now it's a hotbed of sexual dysfunction and violent rape. Anyway, I think the thing with
there's a Bergman movie about that, Eugene. What do you mean?
It is Virgin Spring. Good for you.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, I think that with Teixeira. I'm gonna have to blame Joe Rogan. There you have it. I said it. I don't care. I'm gonna blame Rogan on this one. Think if Rogan were doing color commentary for your life, you know, and Rogan's like, "All right, we got this hamburger. Oh, this is the best. This hamburger is trained with John Hackelman. It's chocolate Dells. This is the greatest hamburger ever, man." And you sit down and you take a bite into that hamburger. You go, "Oh man, this burger's kind of lousy. It's just a burger, you know." And I got that sinking sensation halfway through the fight. I mean, I love the Teixeira story. I just love saying his name. I like the guy, you know. He seems sort of flummoxed when Rampage went Rampage on him in the weigh-in and the pre-fight stuff, you know. I mean, what the audience doesn't see is that these guys are actually hanging out at the rules meetings when they film the video packages. You know, the only person who successfully mean mugs their way through all that is Nick Diaz. He's at the rules meeting staring at his opponent. You know, I mean, he carries it 100% all the time, you know. But so it was kind of cute, him being flummoxed. But I'm listening to Rogan, and Rogan's like, "This is me," and what I'm seeing is not this dissonance where what I'm hearing is not what I'm seeing, you know. So it's like, I can't say that Rampage was not a game opponent for him. I can't even say stylistically that this was a bad fight. I was just at the end of it.
You know,
truthfully, come on.
I mean, truthfully, I enjoyed it.
You enjoyed the hamburger. I enjoyed my hamburger.
I thought it was a good hamburger. I did not think it lived up to the hype. You're correct there that there was an element of, especially I thought Rampage's performance was lacking. I mean, those slow single leg takedowns that Teixeira kept landing on him. I was just like, you know, everybody that comments on that fight has been, what the fuck was up with that? Like, I mean, you know, it wasn't just that he got taken down with a single leg. I mean, that can happen to anybody. It's that Teixeira slowly knelt over and then slowly reached for his knee, and then slowly picked it up, and then slowly ran the pipe. You know, I mean, it was like there was little sense of urgency there, and you know. But I don't know. I got to say this: Rampage did what Shogun Rua wouldn't do, which was take the fight against Teixeira.
Yeah.
You know, and Teixeira got some of the rub off of Rampage. He got exposure on Fox. A lot of people saw him. They know he's a tough guy. He's not going to be duckable anymore. He's now a named fighter. You know. 4 million people saw him beat up Rampage, and so 4 million people, you know, are at least familiar with, oh, here's that bald Brazilian guy with a funny name, you know.
And his English is not bad, right? I'm having a hard time recalling what he said afterward, but yeah, his English is not bad, and I'm so you actually got you're right. From a business perspective, it was good business, but just the fight left me, but I don't feel like I want to blame anybody. It's just one of those things that happens, you know.
Just one of those things that happens. That's, you know, these things happen in MMA, as Gus Johnson would say.
I call it the wander factor. You know, I mean, like when I had the world's worst job of reviewing porno. At first, there's a life cycle of a porno reviewer where at first you're like, yeah, and then like the second hour you're like, yeah, and then like the third hour you're like, yeah. I can't go on with this, you know. So when I figured out a system, and I used the PIP, picture in picture, and so I would be doing other things, and I would have the little picture on your desktop, and if the picture actually got my attention, if I didn't wander away from it and go back to like doing other stuff, then that gets a good review, you know. So I mean, this is the same. I'm watching the fight, and my attention, like I'm paying attention to the dog, you know, petting the cat. My attention was diffused. It just didn't. I had to force myself to concentrate, and you know, when has that ever been the case for a Rampage fight? You know,
it's very true. It's very true. It's hard to think of bad Rampage fights.
Yeah.
But enough about the past. Let's look ahead just briefly to the future. UFC 156, big pay-per-view, the Super Bowl weekend coming up. Featherweight title fight between Jose Aldo and Frankie Edgar. But it's not just a one-fight event. This is a pretty stacked card. There are 4 fights on the main event I want to talk about. John Fitch versus Demian Maia. Alistair Overeem versus Antonio Bigfoot Silva. Rashad Evans versus Antonio Rogerio. Little Nog Nogueira. And the title fight, of course. Thoughts on this? What fight are you looking forward to the most?
The most, I'm looking forward to Overeem.
Overeem.
Yeah, not because, mostly because since the suspension and the bust, I've seen him one time on some date indistinct Japanese arm wrestling show, and now actually then I saw him fight this some Dutch reporter pulled a Eugene Robinson, and then during the interview he challenged Overeem to a fight. That guy was game, man. Did you see that?
I did see that. I just extremely dubious judgment there.
Except I thought he was going to have a heart attack after the first 30 seconds because his conditioning wasn't up to par. But so I've seen Overeem a total of maybe 13 seconds in what would constitute real time. So it says a lot, and it'll say, I think the heavyweight division uncharacteristically is super exciting for 2013, and I'm kind of trying to stick a finger in the air and see which way the wind is going to blow on this one, and I think I'm going to get a lot of answers based on what Overeem does. I don't think anybody expects Bigfoot Silva to win this fight, but
not many.
No, but I'm thinking that possible future competitors are looking for keys as to what he's still got in the tank. And I'm not talking about drive. I'm talking about just non-performance enhancing drug. Overeem versus, which constitutes will, maybe a little drive, physical abilities, and so on. But
I don't know. I could see Bigfoot throwing a fly in the ointment here, because I just have a bad feeling about it, especially since Bigfoot's already just been mauled by Cain Velasquez. So he's not at all a title challenger. Bigfoot would need maybe 6 or 7 straight wins to get a title shot against Cain Velasquez, because Velasquez totally took his lunch money when they fought. Yeah. I mean, I felt sorry for Bigfoot, and I'm not prone to feeling sorry for giant, monstrous creatures like that. And then, not that he's not a sweet guy. I'm just saying he's a very scary,
he's a scary-looking guy.
Formidable individual. And Overeem, I don't know. I just have a bad feeling about this one, man. It's been a year since he, failed the test, and presumably he's changed his training regime or whatever you want to call it. He looked a little different at the arm wrestling thing, looked a little less inflated, and so I'm just curious to see. And also, I think that Bigfoot is somebody that takes more than one flurry to put away. Bigfoot can take a beating. Whatever you want to say about the dude. I could see Overeem kneeing him in the stomach, hurting him, kneeing him in the face, hurting him more, and then not being able to finish, and then not having a plan B. Overeem's never had the deepest reserve of heart.
I am as prone as I am to conspiracy theory. Now I'm panicked. That's all I needed, the merest scintilla of doubt, and I fold my whole game. I'm done. I'm out. That's why I don't play poker.
Oh, ye of little faith, Eugene. Well, ye.
Well, hold on.
If Alistair was Jesus, he'd be saying, "You're going to deny me 3 times before breakfast, fool."
Right. Okay, look. Okay, when Overeem fought, when Silva fought Fedor, it was a depleted Fedor. We had already seen Superman die against Verdum, so it wasn't like I mean,
it was a panicky, jittery Fedor. His ring IQ completely abandoned him, and he was trying to force the fight and trying to force the big punch instead of letting it happen. It was disconcerting to see.
Right. So and then I mean, Bigfoot he's reading the papers. He's knowing what's going on. So now he's like super motivated to. And the numbers, it's always with this kind of thing. The numbers, you can't. I mean, people are like, why there's so many NCAA games? You know why? Because of gambling degenerates. That's why.
Oh, that's a cynical world, cynical.
So I mean, smart money would be on Overeem. What are the odds? Did you check out the odds on this?
I can do that quickly.
Yeah,
pull up.
I guarantee you, $100 is something that most of us could stand. Well, maybe some of you guys could stand to lose. I couldn't stand to lose.
Man, I just got a new timing belt, Eugene. I can't afford to do it.
Hey, me too. There you go. How much did they charge you in Austin for this timing belt?
It's going to be $1,000, easy.
Okay.
We're pushing the value of the car.
I got out of it for a little bit less. So but it's good. We start cashing these checks from Bloody Elbow. We'll be fine.
Yeah. The Bloody Elmo money it's just rolling in.
So anyway, so let me. But by the end of this show, I will have come up with a pick. But now I'm panicking.
Overeem's heavily favored. He's minus 350.
Oh.
Some people have him at minus 400, even as much as minus 450. I don't know. Bigfoot's starting to look attractive to me.
Yeah, I mean, just for the sake of being smart, how much could you stand to lose, versus how much you could stand to gain. I mean, one thing about Bigfoot, he's not going into this fight to lose the fight. But,
No.
I mean, the door that Kane opened is that, how effective, Kane is not a sterling. I think I can safely say, friend of knuckle up or not, that he's not a sterling striker. He's good, but he's not, he's not Anderson Silva level where the guy could say, "Screw this, I'm going into boxing."
Yeah, no.
I don't think people expect that.
Without the threat of the takedown, Kane's boxing is pretty limited.
Right. So then I say, okay, let's do a cross comparison between Kane and Overeem in this regard. I think is Bigfoot gonna shoot on Overeem? Nope, I don't see it.
You don't think so?
Any kind of show,
knees.
Any kind of shoot that Silva could do, Overeem can get away from, and he's been getting away from it. It's not. I'm not guessing that he could get away from it. He has been getting away from shots from big guys. So smaller guys, faster guys. He's learned that much. All right, so he can't take him down. So what the possibility that he somehow gets him on the ground, falls down, Overeem follows him down, and he gets tangled up into jiu-jitsu land, of which I'm number 35th in the world, by the way.
At blue belt.
Yeah.
At blue belt.
Whatever, man. Don't hate. So he gets him in he's experienced at slipping. I mean, could Bigfoot get him, hem him in and beat on him? There's a possibility, but I don't know, man. I'm just seeing there's too many tools in the toolkit. That's it. I think I'm going back. I changed my mind. I'm back with Overeem.
Back with Overeem. I do have the vision of Overeem just shucking Brett Rogers off of him like nothing.
Yeah.
And again, that's all. We'll have to see what his adjusted training regime has done to that kind of power.
Yeah, look. Let me tell you. Like Dion DiMucci said, take it from someone who knows. I think the fact that he is off PEDs right now could actually serve. It could be an overcompensatory thing, where he's like, it's close enough where probably how it screwed up his endocrine system is still enough so he can get a good rage going. So I'm not. He's not in that crying at Bill Murray movies that some of us have been in before,
Oh, that's a sad picture.
Hey, man, Scrooged. That's a touching movie. Or how about my meet Joe Black meltdown on an airplane, man?
I feel sorry for your fellow passengers there.
It was this flight attendant who I was worried about. She's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Leave me alone. This movie." Hormones are dangerous.
Yes, indeed. Well, I think that's all we have to say about Reem versus Bigfoot. I mean, intellectually, I'm with you.
So who have you picked?
I got to pick Overeem. I just have a bad feeling. I just have a sinking sensation in my stomach that the whole thing could go to shit. Because if Overeem loses this fight, we have no title challenger. Bigfoot is not a title challenger. We lose the Overeem versus Kane title fight. Yep. It just shows you how things get fucked up. But let's talk about.
It would be a good day. It would be a good day for Shane Carwin.
Ha! Yes. I won a few recently. Poor Shane, his injuries and PED problems of his own. But I don't know. But let's talk.
I love Shane Carwin, but come on, that can't have been a surprise. You know what's a surprise? a surprise is when a Tim Sylvia or Josh Barnett gets popped for steroids. When I heard those stories, I was like, what? Really?
Yeah.
I guess that's what happens when you take stuff and then don't lift weights. And I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. I don't want to make fun of guys' physical. Whatever. Okay, let's move on.
But anyway, let's talk about some redemption. Jon Fitch and Demian Maia, both welterweights now, fighting on this card. Huge fight. Jon Fitch,
huge fight.
For a long time, number 2 in the world at welterweight.
Yep.
Couldn't beat George St. Pierre back in 2008. In fact, got crushed.
Yep.
And then, he's had kind of a long road. The last couple of years, he lost to Johnny Hendricks badly. Yep. He only managed to get a tie against B.J. Penn in a fight where Fitch basically just mauled the guy. Yep. This might be his last stand, at the top of the division. Demian Maia,
Hold on. What was Fitch's very last fight?
Fitch's very last fight, I want to say, was a decision win, but let me pull up Wikipedia because I have outsourced my memory to Sure Dog. And Jon Fitch's very last fight was it was a very impressive decision win over highly touted Eric Silva. Got a fight of the night there.
That's right. He crushed him.
He did. He broke the spirit.
Yeah, that was a great fight, and that was a Jon Fitch that I had never, ever seen before. Ever.
Had the eye of the tiger.
Yeah, my experience. I mean, maybe it was the 2 mortgages he was complaining to the press about having to deal with. My experience of Jon Fitch is him sitting on the apron of the ring at the AKA doing interviews. I've never seen the guy train. I'm sorry. I gotta see these guys again. See, really, I'm on the road just getting my head beaten. That's really what I'm here for. How many people can I insult in the process? I mean, I think Fitch did not impress me into that Silva fight, and whatever life pressures he was under or realizing he was up, he rose to the occasion. And for me, what is that old expression about? It's not getting knocked down, but it's the willingness to stand up. He stood up. So, he
was in Chumbawamba country, for sure.
That's a funny a small digression. I was on a panel at this big festival at Birmingham, at Supersonic, and I'm on a panel with Penny Rambeau, who used to be in Crass. And he's talking about all this kind of anti-capitalist stuff, and he's about art can't be held, it can't be stopped. The money guys, Meanwhile, he's living in a nice kind of country manner. But then at one point, I just couldn't. I love the guy so much, I couldn't bring myself to say, "Hey, are you still friends with the guys in Chumbawamba?" Because when the Chumbawamba used to be in Crass,
Yep.
English anarchist band Crass that Penny Rambeau was in. So it's like, Chumbawamba, huh? Yeah, okay. Rolls Royce Chumbawamba, right? Anti-capitalist. It's always the capitalists who are anti-capitalist. But I mean, true. I think Fitch and Maia are like the same fighter going into this fight. Maia's last fight was also exciting, wasn't it? It was.
Let's pull it up.
Yeah.
Let's pull it up. My God, our memories, Eugene. We're old. And there's been too many fights. Demian Maia scrolling down. Oh yeah, he submitted Rick Story. He turned the blood faucet on Rick Story's nose.
See, there you go. I'm remembering shadows and shapes of things in the past.
Yeah, and before that he crushed Stun Gun Kim. Right. Although there was an injury there, but it was clear that Maia was aiming to maul the poor young man and was headed that way. So yeah, these guys are both on the upswing. Exciting fight. I'm
calling it for Fitch.
Calling it for Fitch, huh? Let's hear the rationale.
The rationale is that I just don't. I mean, Maia is hardcore jiu-jitsu guy.
He's improved his striking too, training with Wanderlei Silva. And
not enough.
But it's not like Fitch is Anderson Silva here.
No, but he's AKA, and Javier has been really super good about making those guys do the stand-up portion. Think about Cormier and what he could do and what he does do. Think about Cain Velasquez, what he could do. I mean, he could just rely on his wrestling and be done with it. He's like, no, that's your back pocket stuff. That's your fun time stuff. I want you to beat him up because the wrestler, he can't take you down, and that way you're scoring points even if you're not submitting the guy.
But Cain has a huge right hand and Cormier has hella hand speed.
Yeah,
Fitch has.
Yeah.
Fitch has exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got decent technique. He's got well practiced technique, but he doesn't have any especially dangerous weapons standing. Whereas Maia, I mean, he lost the Munoz fight, but he showed the Mark Munoz fight that he can throw down. He can drop some hands. He can even throw some kicks. I think at range he's got an edge on Fitch standing.
I'm trying to remember when exactly Fitch knocked anybody out. He's gotten a bunch of TKOs.
Yeah, I mean that's from when he murked Thiago Alves the first time he fought. Held the guy down and Belfort him against the fence.
That was up kicking punches.
Yeah.
According to Sherdog, which I have open in front of me because I can't remember the stuff. So you're okay. You could be right, but hold on. It doesn't matter. I'm sorry. In this instance, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna make that claim. It doesn't matter because I don't think Demian Maia is stand-up is good enough. I don't think he has to be that good to beat Demian Maia in the stand-up.
Fair enough. Maia is spotty at best at stand-up.
Right, and his any kind of reliance. I mean, this is not a title fight, so we're talking 3 rounds. He's got to get it done fast. I think Fitch is used to. He's gotten into a lot of decisions, so maybe. Oh God!
He has gotten into a lot of decisions. Even at his best.
I'm still gonna go for Fitch. And
for Fitch?
Fitch is actually not a friend of Knuckle Up. I've never interviewed the guy. He's busy talking to other people when I'm around. So, but I'm still gonna, based on what I saw their last fight. I mean, okay, but this is.
But look at what Maia did to Rick Story, and Rick Story is somebody that's very comparable to John Fitch.
That's a thought that was just crystallizing in my head.
The blood faucet, Eugene. I mean, he was cranking it, and the blood was just.
Okay, all right. How about this? you like the image? Just the blood sponge. Okay, but how about this? All right, how about this? Dave Camarillo.
Dave Camarillo hasn't been training with AK anymore. He moved on.
Well,
he's still in Fitch's corner, so he's still training.
They were friendly and associated. He just moved to Pleasanton. It's not that far away. Fitch could make the drive. You know what I'm saying?
It's true, and I expect him to be in his corner.
Oh my God! The thing is, I'm a huge. The true deal is, I'm a huge Demian Maia fan. Huge Demian Maia. That he did something in one of his earlier fights that just sealed the deal for me.
When he humiliated Chael Sonnen?
No, it was a jiu-jitsu move. It was like a rolling somersault into a triangle. And
was this against Jason McDonald when McDonald was foolish enough to try to grapple with him?
Yeah.
Well, it made for a great fight.
That was great, and that was so sweet. After that, and I've been just like, man. But he's had some stumbles, and I think. The guys and older guys had a functional life. You always go back to being a cop, You're
getting him confused with Thiago Alves.
Demian Maia wasn't never a cop?
I don't think he was ever a cop, dude. I mean, he was a professional. He's a playboy. He was a professional Brazilian jiu-jitsu fighter, pro grappler. I don't think he's done any work as a policeman.
Well, hey, you know what? I in my first interview ever with Cesar Gracie, my research department had given me some facts, and in the middle of the interview, I said, "So, when you were in the military," and I knew I was in trouble when my research department was laughing hysterically off camera.
That research department.
And Caesar played it off really well. He did not put me on Front Street and say, "Look, I've actually never been in the military," which was the case, so I could have this completely wrong. He wasn't a special forces guy of some kind.
No, that's Thiago, Paulo Thiago, dude. I
call him Thiago you're right.
Alves, but it's Paulo Thiago that's the special forces guy. Demian Maia does have some judo background, so.
Right. All right. Well, I'm gonna have to go. In terms of who's broken my heart before, I'm going to have to go the number of times. I'm going to have to go with Fitch on this one. Fitch has lost 4 fights, man. 4.
It's true. But, that's exactly how many Demian Maia has lost.
But how many has Demian Maia won?
Only 17. So Fitch has had a longer career in MMA and 1 more fights Fitch's record.
He's got mortgages.
24. He's only had 7 more fights, though. He's 24-4-1 with 1 no contest. But regardless, be that as may, I think the difference is this. Demian Maia has a hard time transitioning. He's learned striking, but he's one of these fighters that, had incredible, incomparable submission skills and pretty good takedown skills with his judo background. But once he learned striking, he's had a hard time getting his head out of that space. He's one of these fighters who can't phase shift very well. He's either in a striking mode or he's in grappling mode. And it seems like since he's gone down to welterweight, he's moved back into, dancing with the one that brung him. He's been in grappling mode.
Right.
And I think if Fitch can keep it on the feet and turn it into a striking fight, Fitch may have an advantage just because Maia has limited striking. Maia might have better offense at striking, but he also tends to gas himself out and make some mistakes.
Yep.
And so, but however, Fitch's game is sticking to guys, riding on top of guys, and hurting them with ground and pound and getting the decision.
Yeah, that's going to get him in trouble against
He cannot do that to Demian Maia. You don't even want to clinch with Demian Maia because his judo is so good. He'll be on top of your ass before you know it.
But he's also AKA, so I mean, it would be very surprising if Javier Mendez didn't have something to say about a game plan that's going to sort of work in this. I mean, he could be a headstrong fighter. Like who Kane said to me once. He goes, if I listen to what Javier says, I win. If I don't listen to what he says, I lose. And I guess he's talking about training since he's only lost the one time that I've seen. But there's a guy I interviewed at Trinity MMA in New Jersey, and he was selling himself purely as a transition specialist. And he says, think about it. You got all these different skills. When do you put the gas on one and the brake on the other? Most guys don't know. That's what I teach. And I was like, cool, man. I don't know how. I mean, he's got a couple guys that fight MMA and are doing pretty well. But
I don't know if that's a teachable skill, though. It seems like some fighters can do it.
I don't think it is. But the guy's hanging out his shingle, and he's had some success doing it. So whatever, I mean,
it's a good gimmick for sure.
Yeah, it is a catchy gimmick. So yeah, I think you're right about that. It's maybe a toss up, but I'm still. Are you feeling differently than the Fitch on this? Are you going to go with Maia?
I gotta go with Maia here. I think Maia's making one last run. I think Fitch is a spent force. I don't know, man. There's a lot of drama in this fight. I don't want to root against either of these guys. I mean, you've watched these guys for this length of time. Yeah. They've both had some big wins. I admire their heart. I admire their skills. It's hard for me to pick anybody in this fight. Right. I want to see both of these guys win because this is clearly one of these fights where the winner is going to go onward and upward, and the loser probably out of the picture for a while. Fitch, definitely out of the picture. If Fitch can come out and just demolish Maia, he might be 2 or 3 fights away from another title shot. Fitch has to do everything harder. Everything's going to be harder for Jon Fitch just because he's a boring fighter. The UFC doesn't like him. It's just the nature of the.
Do you think that the history of the UFC not liking him went back to the whole video game thing?
It started before that, but they definitely didn't like him, trying to stand up for himself on the video game rights.
He's a Cal Scalak of MMA.
That's true. But even before that, it took him, 8, 9 straight wins to get a title shot. It took him something like 7 straight wins to get on to get off the undercard back when the undercard wasn't aired anywhere. So this is a guy they've tried to bury long and hard, and he just
Michael Myers, he keeps coming back.
Exactly. Dana's done everything. He poked him in the eye with a coat hanger. He shot him with the 357. What more can you do?
Well, what was funny, last time I went to a UFC event when I was in press row, cage side, I always have this same strange, funny sensation dealing with Dana, where he always does this double take because it's but it always feels to me like, have I fired that guy yet? I actually don't. I don't know him. So the time before that he did this kind of creates in his mind this thing like, I need to fire. Oh wait. So I always have this weird 2-step with Dana when I meet him. He knows me, but he doesn't know how he knows me, and they're like, but I should fire him.
He really should. It's long overdue.
Right.
Long overdue. A rare oversight from Dana White.
With Joe Silva, can we fire that guy? How about this? You give him a job, and then I'll come up and fire him. So
it could be a plan. It could be a plan. But we've got 2 more fights to cover and very little time to do it.
Okay,
we've got Rashad. Well, so you're going with Fitch. I'm going with Maia.
Okay, so that's our first divergence, right?
First divergence. All right, now Rashad Evans versus Antonio Rogerio, Little Nog, Minotauro, Nogueira. Who you got?
I'm going to have to go with Rashad.
Everybody's going with Rashad
Everybody's
here.
going. I could, seeing that my research department is total crap. Somebody was talking about Little Nog. And I think I was saying, like, how come that guy's get more play, you know? I mean, they're virtually, and the guy was Brazilian. He goes, because he's a dick. I was like, what? He goes, you know, like, Big Nog is like, you know, he doesn't go to sleep sometimes till 3 or 4 in the morning. He's unfailing, giving people autographs, extending him, doing charity events in Brazil, helping out, do whatever. Little Nog is like, man, not the same kind of cat. So it could be that twin thing. I don't know, but I mean, that's not why Rashad is going to win. Rashad's going to win this fight because because of his skill set, and he's got the kind of
transitions. He's got phase shifting.
He can phase shift it. Were you much of a comic book fan growing up?
Deeply, obsessively.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you remember the Destroyer?
Of course, the green one that fought Captain Marvel, or the metal one that fought Thor.
No, the one who was like, and then he wised up toward the end. He was like a computer program set to do one thing, and I was like, kill Marvel. I gotta kill Marvel, and I think that Rashad Evans has become kind of like the Destroyer. Really, it's like, yeah, he knows that he lost to Jon Jones. You know, we know that he lost to Jon Jones, but I think in his mind, Rashad Evans will not rest until he works himself back up into a position to kill Jon Jones. So I think anybody that stands between him and the killing of Jon Jones runs a distinct risk of being killed themselves. Yeah, you know, I mean,
yeah.
This is no way he loses this fight. You know?
It seems pretty unlikely. I mean, Little Nog's career in the UFC has been spotty at best. I mean, he came out, looked great against Louis Kane, but Kane's subsequent collapse has kind of devalued that. Yep. Then he put on a great fight with Jason Brills, but everybody's like, Jason Brills? I mean, come on, really? When, you know, and then dropping consecutive decisions to Ryan Bader and Phil Davis.
Yep. Hold on. Was Jason Brills a cop?
He seems like a cop. But
I think Jason Brills was a guy. See, I'm not going to let go of this cop thing. One of these guys was a cop.
He seems like a cop. Jason Brills.
No, I'm thinking of Mike Russow. Sorry.
Yeah, Russow is definitely a cop. But Jason Brills just seems like a cop. Jason Brills is just a guy who probably can't score pot to save his life because he looks like a cop. But not that he wants to. I'm not putting out the slander.
I actually got stopped by a cop for the first time in like about 5 years the other day, and I just laughed. I mocked him and mercilessly ridiculed him. He's like, you signaled your turn as your lane change as you were lane changing. I was like, oh, really? Really? He goes, it's a real law. I go, can you show it to me in your book? He's like, well, no, I can't find it in the book. I go, huh? He goes, I see lots of people do it. And I go, and do you stop them all? He's like, pop, 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 pop. I go, oh, okay.
What jurisdiction were you in, Eugene,
Mountain View, California.
Incidentally,
View. The same place where I scored #1 on the entry exam for the police force.
Wow.
Only to be taken down in the psychological interview portion.
Who could have seen that coming? Who could have seen that coming?
Anyway, we have digressed. I mean, I don't see Little Nog pulling this out. I'm trying to think. I think the objective is to maybe give Rashad something to do. Maybe I don't know.
I think so. I think both of these guys are named guys, and they haven't fought. You know, let's let them have a fight. I think they're trying to push Rashad Evans to go down to middleweight and fight Anderson Silva because that would be a money fight. And also it would be an interesting fight. I like Rashad's chances against Anderson Silva.
Strangely enough, it doesn't seem that Rashad is so interested in doing that.
He seems to be a little bit resistant, and which is funny because he's a small light heavyweight. You'd think that the cut would not be so drastic, and you know, you've watched Chael Sonnen, give Anderson Silva everything he can handle, and Rashad's a brilliant phase shifter. I think he's somebody who could probably take Anderson Silva down. I mean, odds are Anderson Silva knocks him the fuck out, but I don't know. You might be right with this Moby Dick thing on Rashad's part as like wanting to get a piece of Jon Jones, another piece.
He seems right, exactly right. He seems Ahab-esque about this, completely unhinged. I mean, most of us, yeah, you walk.
Who can blame him? They trained together. They were like brothers. And then Jones turns phony on him.
I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that storyline at all. You did that just to excite me. I've hated that one from the beginning. Look, to the public that wants to hate Jon Jones, find another reason. The fact that he drives a Rolls Royce is a good enough reason for me to hate him. If you want to hate him, I don't.
He's from upstate New York. That's enough for me. Have you been to upstate New York? No, Have you been to upstate New York? You're not an upstate New Yorker. You're from the city.
I'm a city.
Yeah, come on.
But look at it this way. Look, this is why I have no sympathy for Rashad. I like the fact that he's become monomaniacally focused on stealing this from Jon Jones. But at the point where they say to him, "Is it okay if we get this guy on the team?" and he goes, "Well, thanks for asking. Yeah, I guess it's okay. I'll see if I can help the kid." That's it. Okay, forget about that. Forget maybe they got the guy in a down moment. He just casually happened to mention. At the moment where they say, you hurt your leg, what do you think about Johnny stepping in? And, at the moment you say, well, okay, that's it. Because he had a 50% chance of leaving that cage with the belt. You knew that. How could you? What is this hurt, this surprise, and this shock later?
Eugene, they used to see each other and they'd go like, "Hey, dude," like that, like and now suddenly Jones is like betrayed him. Like they had that, hey, dude, they had the head shake thing going.
That's right. Maybe every now and then they did a fist bump. I don't know. Yeah.
I mean.
He's betrayed. So, but are you saying that that people have fallen for the okey doke on this whole, once brothers Cain Abel thing? I don't know.
I mean, if people have fallen for it,
if you're desperate for a reason to hate the guy, I heard some guy sitting behind me when I saw him fight Vitor Belfort. Some Brazilian guys sat behind me in Toronto and screamed at John. Keep in mind, I didn't have cage side seats at this event. So these guys, the likelihood that Jones could hear what they were screaming was zero. And he screamed the entire fight, "Faggot, faggot, faggot." I mean, he did not deviate. He did not pick up the pace. He just, maybe he threw in Jones, faggot, faggot, Jones, but he just, he must
like a metronome.
Like a metronome. It's like, this is unreasonable dislike for a guy based on what? Well, in that case, the guy was Brazilian and was a Belfort fan. So, but I think Rashad will kill Nog. I think he'll do something he typically. The knock against him early on for me was that he was a boring fighter, and at some point he goes, "Oh, I get it," and he started fighting exciting fights.
He's got a hell of a highlight reel. I mean, Chuck Liddell, Sean Salmon, like lots of dramatic knockouts.
Yeah, but you and I have been around long enough to remember the early fights where it was like, "Oh God, this guy again."
Yeah, he was the blanket. He was the
carpet. Right.
Yeah, he made Nick the Fence Lentz look exciting in his early days, and that was before Nick the Fence Lentz even was a known entity. But let's move on. We both think Rashad's going to beat Little Nog, and that's what it is. It's hard to get too upset about that. Jose Aldo versus Frankie Edgar. You think Frankie can do it? Can he become a 2-division champion?
No. Look, there's the issue of ring rust. Look, if Aldo loses, they could truck out the ring rust thing. They could truck out the surgery thing that he wasn't. This is a tough first fight for him back. They could, but he's one of those cats that I'm going to admit, all of the guys at the top of with the exception of Cain Velasquez, all the guys who are at the top of their division. Cain Velasquez and GSP, all the guys who are sitting at the top. I have never gotten the sense that they have dug deep.
Been tested.
I don't see that Jon Jones has gone more than 51% in total effort in any of his fights. Yeah.
Lyoto Machida surprised him with a punch or two, but and Vitor Belfort nearly broke his arm. I mean that
was a 1% over 50 that I'm giving him, where he kind of said he made the decision like, I'm not losing my belt for this arm. So he had to go 51% and really try. But I mean, that leaves a whole 49% untapped. And I think Jose Aldo is the same way. I don't think that guy. I'm not seeing that guy any of his fights that he had to dig down deep. You know,
I'm looking at his resume, and I'm just seeing a lot of brutal, vicious murders. I mean,
right.
You know,
again and again and again.
Yeah, this is Ted Bundy versus the co-eds time and time again here. And,
hold on.
Was that tasteless?
I think maybe now it's time for me to apologize for Kid Nate. Apologize. As a man with daughters, I must apologize to all the daughters in the world, all the co-eds.
Absolutely right.
All right.
You got me.
Between this and the rail line to Auschwitz, I think we're okay. We're done.
We're evened up. Okay. My bad. No, nevertheless,
Aldo, you know, unless something really, I mean, unless the surgery was more intense than we knew, I'm just not, you know.
I mean, the kinds of injuries he's had, knee injuries, back injuries, neck injuries, those are not good things.
Yeah.
And those are the kind of things that can transform you from, you know, a killing machine into a mere mortal, you know. And so, I mean, I think
okay.
And it's the number of them. He's you know, he only fought once in 2012. He spent a good part of 2011 out with injuries.
What did he do in 2012?
He fought Chad Mendez. He knocked out Chad.
And what happened?
He killed him in the first round. Like, I mean, but it almost took the full round.
Right. So he had to dig down deep. I mean, the question is, now that he maybe because of injuries has to dig down deep, you know, how deep does he have to dig down, and you know how deep is a reserve? I mean, I don't know. I mean, Edgar is fighting for his life. You know.
And Frankie is gutsy. I mean, Frankie's a kid who has to dig down in every fight. Like
a New York kid too. So I have
Jersey.
Yeah. Well. Oh.
Are you accepting Jersey as New York now?
I am not.
I mean, yeah. Come on.
I thought he was spending time out on the island. I thought he was spending time.
He might spend some time. Are you accepting Staten Island as New York now, Eugene?
Yes.
You are. Just because you legally have to, because it is.
Because I have to. Yeah.
But I mean, yeah. But seriously, it's not like you're from Staten Island. If you're from Staten Island, then sure, Jersey's part of New York. But
right. Well, I mean, it's, you know, we always the Staten Island was a loser borough until the Wu-Tang showed up there. You know, seriously, people. Tottenville. Who knew? You know, come on. So, but yeah. So Edgar is fighting for his life. He's scrappy. He's a tough. But he's. Am I wrong to say that overall, as a defensive fighter, that he doesn't have enough to defend? I don't know, man.
Well, the thing about Edgar is, ironically, since he's coming down from the lightweight division, he's going to be smaller than Jose. Frankie was a puffed up featherweight at best, which is incredible that he won the title, you know, lightweight title as an undersized fighter. But that means he relied on his speed. And I don't think he's going to have the speed advantage. And the thing is, to me, is we've never seen Edgar against a real leg kick artist. You know, Jose Aldo is just a butcher of legs. I mean, ask Uriah Faber probably still has blood clots. You know, Uriah Faber probably has a stroke somewhere in his vascular system, just waiting to strike. That's got Jose Aldo's name on it. You know, and I mean, remember what he did to Mark Hominick's head. You know, and so
E.T.
But that's off the leg kick topic. The thing with Frankie Edgar is, here's a guy who basically, you know, a lot of guys fight 12 to 12, like they face their opponent straight on, like the Diaz brothers. Frankie Edgar fights from 9 to 3. I mean, he's going back and forth, you know, always looking for angles, always trying to create an angle, mixing up his punches, his kicks, and his takedowns brilliantly. I don't think any of that shit's going to work on Jose. I think Jose's going to cut his legs out from under him quickly. And then what's Frankie have left once he doesn't have mobility?
I was doing that thing, you know, how they have those people with those YouTube channels that have the animated fights because they try to trick you because they're trying to get some kind of hits. I was doing the animated fight projection in my head, and we were talking and trying to think about, you know, Edgar coming up with this and that. I just don't see it unless, but again, you know, we're not with these guys. We don't know what's going on. I mean, you know, Mike Thomas Brown, friend of Knuckle Up, at one point, I've been, this guy's unstoppable. And then he was suddenly, then he's suddenly stoppable. And then what?
Girlfriend troubles.
I asked somebody at American Top T, and what's going on with Mike? Girlfriend problems, man. You know, I have to go back to SOA on this one.
Old school, Henry
Old
Rollins.
school. I don't need no girl problems. I don't need no shit. I don't get better things to do or something. I have to sing the song from the beginning to know it. There's a song called Girl Problems, you know, so.
Yeah. You know, and that might have been a factor in Dos Santos' loss to Cain Velasquez. I think, you know, anytime you say, look at the timeline,
really?
won the UFC heavyweight title, 6 months later getting divorced. That to me says could not handle championship level pussy. And but we don't know that. I mean, Aldo's been in the spotlight a little bit more. He's headlined some Brazilian events, you know, but I don't see any. I don't know. We don't know anything about these guys personalized, so
I still go back to Rich Franklin as my massive fan favorite for saying to his girlfriend after she bull rushed the cage after his win, "I told you not to do this." or like when I watch the fights with a bunch of fighters and the fighter thanks his girlfriend and we all look at each other like, man, why would that guy just shoot himself in the penis like that for what?
Yeah, you never know. You never know when one of these guys gets mixed up with La Femme Nikita or something.
Yeah,
I mean,
right. Well, and speaking of which, and the salacious underpinnings I can't reveal at this point in time. But speaking of which, Matt Hughes.
Matt Hughes.
Don't say it. Matt Hughes. In charge of athlete development now, you know. So it's like
and governmental relations.
I'm gonna have to say that, you know, somebody was listening to this thing that we should have fighter development. That's not what I was talking about, but that's
but Matt Hughes is gonna take him behind the barn and just pound him or whatever.
Actually, he's a great guy for that, you know. He really is. You know,
I wouldn't want to be getting angry phone calls from Matt Hughes at any time of the day.
Right, you know, and throw your father out the window, you know. I mean, I'd love to throw my father out the window. That guy did that quite well, you know. So he wrote about this, right? It's not like I'm telling tales out of. You know.
He pulled no punches. You know, that's the thing about Matt Hughes. Like, from some angles, he looks like just an unredeemable dick, just a complete asshole. But then in his autobiography, he's got the self-awareness to tell these stories on himself. Either he has no self-awareness and doesn't realize he's a complete dick, or he realizes he's a complete dick and he's unashamed. You know?
I think it's a latter, because he never seems too aggrieved when people talk crap. You know.
No, he doesn't get too upset.
No,
he's pals with BJ Penn now.
Yeah, right.
You know, after all the shit that was thrown back and forth, those two monkeys were feces throwing through the cages for years.
Except I don't see Matt Lindland and Baroni palling around. Matt Lindland shows up at the press conference or the weigh-in with a pair of Daisy Duke shorts.
Well, you know, Baroni did patch things up with Evan Tanner before the late Tanner's passing. They trained together before Tanner's last fight. But, of course, Tanner was not the instigator and all that the way Lindland was.
Right.
You know, I mean, I think Tanner was a drunk but not a dick, whereas Lindland, the guy's a dick.
Yeah,
I love him. I'm a huge fan.
Lindland had one of my all-time, again, favorite quotes. They interviewed him after a fight he lost. He goes, obviously the ref thought there was some reason to stop the fight. And I was like sputtering, literally a spit take. You were knocked unconscious looking at the ceiling. Obviously, the ref thought this fight needed to be stopped. And he's like making fun of the ref. Man, you were napping. Yep. I'd officially say the fight is over when you go to sleep. You know, come on.
Not Matt Lindland, man. This is a guy who sued his way into the Olympics. So never say die, Matt Lindland. Matt Lindland gets stiffed by the UFC. He makes a fucking documentary about what a raw deal it is. I mean, Lindland never knows when to stop. But we're well off topic now.
His well-documented fights with Dan Henderson over Chael Sonnen. And the guy is a one-man wrecking crew.
He is many. If he sees a bridge, he burns it. That's our Matt Lindland, and we love him for it. But we are well off topic at this point. We're both picking Jose Aldo. Is that what we're saying?
Yes.
And is this the end of Frankie Edgar? Where does he go from here if he loses?
Holy Mother of Mercy, is this the end of Puerto Rico? No, I don't think so, because there's a theorem. Okay, So, okay, this is the top where you got the champions, right? Okay, he maybe clearly can't contend for this, but he hasn't fallen well enough below, below the waterline so that he's just a dead guy.
Yeah.
They're dead guys fighting now. We know them. There are plenty of dead guys out there fighting, but he is not one of the dead guys. What I mean by this is that the tides could change, to torture the analogy even more. The tides could change. Things could change slightly, and suddenly Edgar has got his head above water. Suddenly his placement is such that he is now in contention again. And I don't know how that happened. Anything could happen. Anything. I mean,
I guarantee you he'll fight Uriah Faber if he loses this fight. That at some point in the next 18 months he'll be in a cage with Uriah Faber.
And that fight's got juice. And Faber needs that too. He needs that more than anything. So these guys, I mean, they're still down.
Faber is undead at this point.
Yeah, right. I mean, and there's a lot of talent on that end of the scale. However, I think I must say, I said it on my show, I'm going to repeat it again. No John McCarthy reffing fights with little guys. No, man.
Yes.
No, it wasn't cool.
And don't have Frank Mir get in the cage and interview him afterwards either.
It's not cool, man. It's just not. It's like it makes it weird comedy. It's not cool,
Big John did a great job of staying off camera, though.
Yes. Well, until he walks him out, or you stay,
Yeah, or until he's mugging him during the 3-point stance, knees to the face debacle.
Right. Well, I'm thinking. It's like, okay, if the school bus is late, you make sure you give me a call. Okay.
Well, you know who's reffing this fight? I mean, not that anything bad about Big John, but you know who's reffing the Aldo Edgar fight? Steve Mazzagatti.
That's fine. That's fine.
Dana White threw a shit fit about it.
Really? Why?
Well, he hates Steve Mazzagatti.
Yeah.
He thinks he's a menace to society.
I'm more worried about Dan Miragliotta.
Miragliotta supposedly won't be back. At least that's what Dana White's saying.
Well, he had that one fight that he stopped prematurely, and I think that some guys from back east would tell me Miragliotta's a solid guy. He knows his stuff. He's a good guy. We like him. And so, but then after that, he seemed to be like, if you were fighting and Miragliotta was the ref, and you were probably going to get beaten to death because he wasn't stopping anything after that.
No, and then the first fight, the guy buffaloed him into stopping it. The guy was like, back of the head, and Miragliotta fell for it. And then after that, I can't remember who the kid he let just get murked was, but it was awful. Right.
So I'm worried about Miragliotta for completely different reasons over the course of his career, but I don't have any problem with Mazzagatti. Point to a decision that Mazzagatti has made that's, outside
the
of Brock
mustache.
Lesnar.
The decision to grow that mustache.
That's what Brock Lesnar said. I was disappointed one time in Mazzagatti. It's when Brock Lesnar said, I'm going to slap that mustache off of his face, and the next fight Mazzagatti comes out, and the mustache is shaved. It's like, come on. What are you, a teenage girl? What's the problem with you? You gotta somebody criticized your porn stash and now you gotta shave it? Come on. Beck said something interesting. He said, do you realize, and I'm not gonna quote Beck a lot here, but you realize the first time in human history a mustache is no longer a mustache?
What is it?
1,000 years ago it was a mustache. He goes, there could be any number of hidden
the ironic,
metaphorical, ironic reason some guys got a mustache.
Do you go back to Brooklyn very often? I mean, I've seen some ridiculous waxed.
I've got friends who are sporting these things. He's actually changed his name to Stash. my friend Jeff Stash.
I feel like, the punk rockers went out there and got our asses beat again and again to give these kids the rights to look ridiculous in public. And at this point, I regret it. I mean, I'd like to see, where are the jocks to yank these things off these people's faces? What has happened to let this weak-ass shit just go on and on? But quick rundown on some of Mazzagatti's worst fiascos. Okay. Jamie Varner versus Rob Mccullough. Mazzagatti calls a timeout to put Varner's mouthpiece in, interrupting an ass-whipping in progress and giving Varner time to recover and win the fight. Okay, here's one that is really bad. Anthony Johnson versus Kevin Burns. Mazzagatti warns Burns about pawing strikes to the face 27 times during the bout without docking a point and without calling the eye poke in the final when Burns.
Terrible eye poke.
That was bullshit. Right. And then Matt Hamill and Jon Jones.
I never liked Anthony Johnson, so I didn't.
Whoa! I mean, he's not a very likable fellow. I gotta agree, but he didn't deserve to to lose by eye poke. That was just that shouldn't happen anyway. And then of course Mazzagatti was reffing the infamous Jon Jones versus Matt Hamill fight, where he DQ'd Jones for 12-6 elbows, and then Hamill couldn't continue, or he stopped the fight, paused the fight because of DQs. 12-6 elbows. Hamill couldn't continue because of a shoulder injury that he suffered on the takedown. Instead of ruling it no contest, he ruled it a DQ loss for Jon Jones. So that's probably his.
That was the worst, probably. That was the worst. So I'm a big Matt Hamill fan, but that's I mean, you think Matt Hamill's happy with that? Matt Hamill's as happy with that as I am of beating Mike Swick. When in actual fact, Mike Swick just knocked himself a little dizzy by hitting his head on the mat. It's not the same,
Yeah, just a taste of ashes in your mouth. Anyway, I think we've covered this fight backwards and forwards. We both got Jose Aldo.
Yep.
Eugene, you're off to Berlin today.
Yes. Berlin today. Catch a plane. If I don't die, knock on wood. I will be calling you. I won't be in Berlin for the whole time. I'll be touring, so I'll either call you from Vienna or Milan.
Wow. I feel more sophisticated already just with the prospect of being on a Google chat with somebody in such storied continental locations.
I won't be in any nice place in Vienna or Milan. You will see behind me.
I figured you'd be staying in like the old Sigmund Freud estate or something in Vienna, like kicking back with a pipe and fine silk robes.
Cocaine.
The 7% solution. Don't undersell it. Don't undersell it. Sigmund Freud, Sherlock Holmes, all the scientific minds of that era were
we're geeked up.
Smoking that rock.
Crack. Hey, whatever happened? I talked to a drug dealer in Amsterdam and asked him about crack cocaine. So how come that it never took off over here? He goes, we tried. He very seriously. We had a market discussion. He goes, we were giving it away for free, and the reality is the only two people on the face of this earth that want that kind of high are Americans and Brits, and that's it. I was like, wow. I mean, he was like, we were giving away toasters, Hey, you want some crack and a toaster? I mean, he said he couldn't get people. I go, maybe it's Amsterdam. Maybe that's the problem. He goes, no, you would think that would be the benefit. It wasn't. Couldn't sell it.
Fascinating. Always learn something talking to you, Eugene.
Life on the road, things that you learn.
Indeed. Well, safe travels, and we'll talk to you next week from an exotic locale. Hopefully the internet connection will be good. Of course, ironically, the only place that's been bad has been from your office next to the router. So.
Right. And that was in Mountain View, like down the road from Apple. Silicon Valley. So
craziness. Anyways, if you like this sort of thing, subscribe to MMA Nation. You'll be one of the dozen people that gets to watch these things live. Eugene, safe travels. We'll see you next week. There's a knuckle up on the Bloody Elbow probably as we speak, and I'll post this later today on Bloody Elbow, and then I'll be back with Dallas Winston for detailed previews later on. So take it easy, Eugene. Safe travels.
All right, man. See you. Bye.